So somebody just tried to scam me. And the craziest part about this story is not even what the scammers did or how they tried to take my money, but it was how Booking.com handled the entire situation. So we're at an extended stay, and you can go back and look at the video. I'll even tag it in this description. It was horrible. It was disgusting. Um, Honestly, the health department should have been called. But anyway, we had to get out of there. We complained. They said they would give us our money back. So I found a deal on Booking.com. And I've booked with Booking.com before. But I've always done like a hotel, a Marriott, a Hilton, something like that. But this time, we did a house rental. Normally, I only do house rentals on Airbnb or VRBO or something like that. But we found a really good deal on a house. Nothing that looked like it was too good to be true, because a lot of times if you book like the day before, you'll get a really good deal. So I booked this this house, and everything seems to be going smoothly. I got the address. We're due to check in the next day. And I contact the host and ask them, is it possible to do an early check-in? So we don't have to check out of that extended stay at 10 a.m. and ride around for 5 to 6 hours, waiting for the check-in for the home. So they told me that was perfectly fine. I asked them, would there be an early check-in fee? Because normally with short-term rental hosts, they give you some kind of early check-in fee, something about the cleaning, the rush cleaning, it takes extra, something along those lines. They tell me that I can check in early, we can check in early, and that there's no fee. And I said, that's very nice of you. And they said it was no problem. And then they asked me, did I make, no, they asked a few other questions, like, was there any kids, how many people were coming, were we going to need a crib, extra amenities and things like that. But then they asked that I make the deposit. I told them that I paid in full, all fees included, on Booking.com. And then they proceed to say, no, they collect a separate fee, or a separate deposit. And I said, well, that wasn't listed on Booking.com. And they said, well, they can't collect it through Booking.com. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm not going to doubt you just yet, because, we have to pay deposits at hotels. They hold it on the credit card, and it's for incidentals or accidents or anything like that that may happen. So I entertained it for a little bit, and I say, okay, well, how do they, what's the link? Thinking that, this is maybe a company, LLC, reputable business or property management company that is online, that is using Booking.com for their online stuff. And they tell me that there's no link, and the deposit needs to be sent through Venmo, PayPal. I'm sorry, not PayPal. Venmo, Cash App, or bank transfer. And that's when I say, can you, and mind you, they're texting my phone. They're not going through the Booking.com messaging app. I said, hey, can you take all this and paste it over to the Booking messaging app so that I can keep a copy of all this? And they said, yeah, sure we can. So they put it over there. At this point, I don't really say anything. I'm just like, okay, well, let me take a look at it, and, we'll go from there. So I then call Booking.com, and that's where this goes completely south. I alert them that someone is requesting money off the platform. The listing never mentioned any type of deposit that needed to be made. And they're asking for that deposit or funds through unsecure methods of payment. Something where if I send them money, I'll never see it again should there be any issue. The customer service representative that we got, let me go ahead and let you know that we was on the phone with this guy for almost 2 hours. And it was ridiculous. I don't think he understood me at all. I was telling him that, hey, this is what's going on. They want me to Cash App them something. And he kept on putting me on hold. like, let me check. He kept saying, let me check my resources and I'll be right back with you. Let me check my resources and I'll be right back with you. And then he kept coming back telling me, well, it's okay. Don't worry. You're covered through booking.com. So you're free to go ahead and make the deposit. And I said, are you sure? He said, if there's any kind of fraud or issue, that booking.com would fully refund me. And I said, you're going to refund me for a deposit that I wire transferred to somebody? If I send them a cash app, I was like, how are y'all going to get any proof of that? How are y'all going to reimburse me for something that didn't go through your platform? And he kept assuring me, like, oh, it's okay. You're covered by booking.com. You're guaranteed. So I started to ask some more questions to dig a little bit deeper because I don't think he was understanding me. I said, do you know what Cash App is? And I did not mean that in a condescending way because I know booking.com is not a US based company and not all countries have Cash App. So somebody living in another country where they don't have this app or they don't have this form of payment, they would have no idea what I'm talking about or what it is. So I kept asking him, do you know what Cash App is? Kind of kept glazing over the question, like, everything's fine, go ahead and do it. I said, I don't think you're understanding me. I said, these people are asking me to go into my bank account and transfer or wire them money that you can't track. We went back and forth with that forever. And I used to work in customer service. So I try to give the customer service agents a lot of grace. I try not to get upset unless it just gets to the extreme. So eventually, and we're still being cordial. I say, hey, I appreciate you trying to help me out today, but I do not think that you're quite understanding my concerns here. Can I speak to your supervisor? Puts me on hold. Comes back, tells me the supervisor said the same thing. I said, okay, great. Let your supervisor know that I would like to talk to him directly. Thank you. Puts me on hold, comes back. Supervisor said to tell you that everything's good. I said, you're not understanding me. I want to talk to your supervisor. Please tell him do not refuse to speak to me. Came back, just the same repeat. So I started talking to the customer service guy again. I'm like, look, I need you to understand what I'm saying. They're asking me for money that they didn't outline prior to me making this booking. Number one, they already violated that. They're trying to do something after the fact. Eventually, he caught on after he kept putting me on hold so that he could check his resources. That was his favorite phrase. Let me check my resources. Let me check my resources. And then he finally came back and he was like, okay, yes, no, you shouldn't make the deposit. Because it wasn't listed on the site. So mind you, now he's not he's not saying that they're in the wrong because they're asking for money outside or off the platform. He's saying they're just wrong for asking for money, period, because it wasn't listed prior to me booking. So had I known prior to booking, I need to be aware of any and all fees. So he then tells me that don't send the deposit and just go ahead and go to the hotel. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure, the home, I'm pretty sure the home is not going to be there. Or it's going to be there and I'm not going to have access to it because I'm pretty sure at this point this is fraudulent. So, he says, well, just wait for them to send you the check-in details and information. And I told him, and I said, I have text messages from the supposed host, and they're telling me that they are not going to send the check-in details or information until that deposit is made. I said, this is what, they're not going to send anything. And he says, well, you just give them until tomorrow because we're doing all this the night before, right? And just wait for the check-in details, but do not pay any deposit. And I said, well, what happens if we have no place to stay? And they said, well, if you get there and, it turns out that, suspicions are true, then they will of course, cancel the reservation and assist us with relocating to another hotel or home. So, what do we do? Because they're not trying to help us that night. Because if we had canceled, if we had said go ahead and cancel it, they would have charged us $108 for cancellation. Because I guess they don't have any proof that it's fraudulent yet. And I respect that because my husband and I used to be short-term rental hosts. But anyway, we get up the next morning, head to the hotel. And we head there before check-in because we just want to scope it out, right? Just to see, one, do it exist? Two, is it matching up with anything that they're saying or the pictures? So we get there and there's a gate because it's in a gated community. And they did mention something about a gate, like they would send us a QR code or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, they're knowledgeable enough to know that there is an actual gate. So we went just to like go get something to eat and hang out and wait for the check-in time. And around 12 o'clock, 1-ish, went ahead and called booking.com and said, hey, it's getting close to check-in. The host has not reached back out ever since, asking me for that $250. There's no check-in details. They're not asking me anything, telling me anything, sending me updates, no email confirmation, no nothing. This time we speak with a young lady, and she seems to be a little bit more knowledgeable about the situation. And she tells us that, okay, she's going to send an email and try to contact the host. All things that the agent from the night before had already done. But I understand that there's a process that they have to go through. And I said, okay. I let her put me on hold. She says I'm not able to contact them. I said, okay. She was like, well, what we have to do now is we have to allow until the check-in time for them to send you the check-in details. And I said, okay. And even my husband said, well, that's fair. Because, you don't want nobody getting access to the property before it's time. Especially if they have to have cleaning and setup and all that kind of stuff like that. So, I explained to her my concerns, and I told her about my 2-hour-long call the night before. And she said, do not worry. She said, somebody will either call you back, or if you call us back at 3 o'clock, the check-in time, if they have not responded to us, they being the host, at 3 o'clock on the dot, they have not responded to us or get sent any check-in details, then we will go ahead, cancel the reservation, and we will assist you with relocation, and booking.com will cover any extra expenses that it takes to get us into another suitable, similar property. So, we hang up, go play some games, get something to eat, call back at 3:06, get someone on the phone. Have to repeat ourselves again. What did she tell us? I have to email the host and I have to give them a call. And they said if they don't respond back in 30 minutes, then we can proceed with the cancellation. And I said, no. Wait a minute. 30 minutes? Why are we waiting 30 minutes? I was like, I alerted y'all about this potential fraud yesterday and y'all are not getting ahead of it. I was told by your previous representative at 3 o'clock on the dot, because right now we're supposed to be somewhere. We're supposed to be unpacking, resting, and nestled inside a hotel or a rental property. Why do we have to get in 30 more minutes? I said, I'm afraid that if I hang up and call back in 30 minutes, actually it's going to be 45 minutes or 50 minutes because their hold times are ridiculous. What's to stop the next agent from repeating the same process? So at this point, I'm getting upset because I'm like, you know what? Y'all keep giving me the runaround. It sounds like y'all are trying to protect this fraudulent property versus helping a paying guest. You know that I'm real and I'm a paying guest because I've given you my money. So what's up? I'm like, either give me my money back or help me find another place. But they don't want to do anything until they give them additional time. So I'm going back and forth with this agent. What I do again, I keep asking for a supervisor. Mind you, we asked for a supervisor at least a good 10 times. They are trained not to let you speak to any type of management. Because she kept coming back saying the supervisor said to tell you this and to tell you that, and it's our process. And at several points, I kept telling her, I said, ma'am, please don't come back on this phone. Um, I get that your supervisor is deterring you back to me, but let him know that, are they, or him, or her, or she, that I want to speak to them. I do not want to continue this conversation with the customer service agent because it needs to be escalated at this point, because I am not being accommodated and I have not done anything wrong. I have followed your rules. I have entered my credit card information. You have taken my money and I don't have any accommodation. And right now, all these red flags that are pointing to this is a fraud, and I've got to mention something. After we made the reservation with this property, they didn't remove it from booking.com, but they closed it so that no other reservations could be made on booking.com for that property. So the listing still existed, but it wasn't accepting any reservations, any new reservations. So I'm trying to explain all this to them. I'm like, they're asking me to wire the money. Pretty much, they're basically asking me to hand them cash, untraceable money. They haven't sent any check-in details. And by this time, still going back and forth because we were spending another 2 hours on the phone with this last young lady. From like, it's 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock now. I was like, check-in was at 3. Y'all told me 3 o'clock on the dot on the last phone call that we were going to go ahead and get this resolved. Been patient long enough. And they said, well, this is the process. I'm like, no, this is not going to work. I need y'all. I was like, I need to speak to someone who can actually resolve a customer issue. It's not always as easy as checking a box 1, 2, 3. You have to be creative in your solution sometime. So we're going back and forth with this young lady. And eventually she finally says, okay, we're going to go ahead and refund you. And they're going to help me with relocation. Now, how the relocation process works is they refund you and they do cover the expenses, or they do cover the difference. Because, now it's going to be more expensive. It's a Saturday and we're trying to book at the last minute. Prices are going to be double, triple, quadruple. So, they refund you your original price. They tell you to buy another hotel or a property of the same caliber. And once you check out and submit the invoice to them, then they will refund you the difference. And I said, well, number one, why do I have to submit the invoice? If I do the transaction through booking.com, you have a copy of that. You know how much I paid. Number two, why on earth do I have to wait until I check out? So now we're looking at, because like I said, last minute, everything's going to be triple, double, quadruple. We're looking at spending an additional $700 on the same kind of hotel or, property to stay in that you're not going to get back to me. Maybe a week from now, you're going to process it. And I don't even know how long it takes for y'all to process that. So I could submit it a week from now. It takes 3 to 5 business days for it to go through your little system. And then it'll take up to 12 business days for the refund to post to my account. I know it's 12 business days for the refund, possibly, of course, depending on your bank, because the refund they just processed for that fraudulent transaction, they said it's going to take up to 12 business days. So after going back and forth about that, because another question that I had was, why don't they just have like a credit process? And I don't mean a credit process like you just have it deposited or sent to my bank or my debit card. I mean, why don't y'all have a credit system or a discount code on booking.com where it just discounts the total of the rental or of the booking? And they said they can't do that, which doesn't make any sense to me because I always see that there's a spot for a discount code to be applied. They also have gift cards. So why not just load a gift card? Again, when I was younger, customer service and working in different customer services, if a customer didn't want to wait on a refund or something like that and they want to get caught up with something like that immediately, credit it to a gift card, process a new transaction. We're done. We're out the door. or if we're giving them some kind of discount. We had override codes, or we could place the order, or we could place the booking ourselves. But no, nothing like that with booking.com. So eventually we just said, forget it, cancel it, refund it. Probably not gonna be doing business with y'all anymore. I know y'all don't care. Y'all got millions and millions of people all over the world who, book with you and shop with you and whatever. And, they probably will continue unless they run into something like this, like I did. So, she refunded us and she said, well, thank you so much for your understanding. I said, nope, let me be clear. There's no understanding here. I'm just kind of fed up with this whole situation and I don't want to deal with y'all anymore. And please communicate to your upper management, supervisors, anybody that you can, that the way that this process was handled was absolutely ridiculous, and how your supervisors and management team continued to divert you back to me, turned this into a 2-hour call. And that's just completely unprofessional and unacceptable. But luckily, last minute, now it's what, 5 o'clock on the day we're supposed to check in. We've been riding around all day. I'm exhausted. I'm starting to flare up and ache and all kinds of foolishness. We get on Airbnb, a place that, of course, if there's any fraud there, it'll be nipped in the bud, because I've been in situations like that. They're not gonna put up with the same foolishness that Booking.com tried to pull off. But luckily, found a really nice place for about $60 a night. Of course, it's a cleaning fee, but with it being $60 a night, it was still a pretty good deal. I'm gonna post the tour of it a little bit later so y'all can check it out. I always post a tour of the places we're staying at, whether it's good or bad. But y'all be careful on Booking.com. I'm not saying I haven't had some good experiences with them, but this was just too much. This was too much. And if you do book with them, just book with a reputable brand. So like Hilton, Marriott, Choice Hotels, things like that. I would not recommend them for short-term rentals. So like for private booking parties. Unless they got like a ton of reviews on Booking.com itself, not external reviews. So a ton of reviews that says, okay, somebody's booked through Booking.com, they've been there, and this was their experience. It is a real legitimate place. But y'all be careful out there, because that was wild. And it was aggravating. But let me know if you've experienced anything like this in the comments. Was it with Booking.com? Shoot, was it with Airbnb? Let me know all the information so that I can be better prepared for next time. I'll see y'all later.